does Chris Rock do stand-up these days?
This is a new stand-up coming out soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Heard a couple of.
I can't imagine.
A couple of bits.
I can't imagine that it's good.
It's pretty good, dude. It's pretty good.
I don't think anything's ever been as funny as Bring the Pain.
The first one, and then the second one was awful.
But the third one was better.
Really?
Oh, I didn't see the third one.
The third one was better than the second one wasn't awful. It wasn't as good as the first one.
What was it called?
Something with black in the
Bigger,
title.
Blacker, or something
Bigger
like
and
that.
Blacker. And then Never Fear, I guess, or something was the third one.
I didn't
The
bother.
third one, none of them were as good as Bring
Never
the Pain, but they're
Scared.
still pretty funny.
See, I wouldn't watch it.
Oh, it's good, man. I heard
You know what it is, man? I got an issue in my head. Once you hit the first one, once you get that first one, like, I could never believe it. Once you've been exposed to it the first time.
because the fight to get that first one is so much, you don't think you're going to fight for the second?
It's not even the fight.
The fight, I mean, by
it's the
writing it.
and that's what I'm saying. It's not the fight. It's the impact upon me as a viewer of that first one, the shock of what that is. The same thing I said. I don't want to keep dwelling on that whole Big Lebowski thing, like, but I even mentioned it on the our message board. Like, I've seen that style since then, so it doesn't do it for me. The first time you see that style, to see something for the first time is the hugest thing. To see Chris Rock blow the doors off something the first time was amazing. To see him do, granted, a totally different act, but a similar style of act, doesn't do it for me.
See, I have never been disappointed by any of his stand-up routines, even if it's like the little 5-minute segments that you see on old Comedy Central that isn't part of like the 2-hour special. Everything he's done is
my favorite Chris Rock thing was when he was on the Arsenio Hall show, making believe he was the Jackson 5, and he had poles coming off of him, and he had 4 other bodies dancing next to him. That was my favorite thing he ever
did. Even the Chris Rock show was top-notch TV. Like, it was
Never
almost
saw one episode.
consistently...
Let me ask you this. Have you watched his sitcom?
I've no.
Oh, I thought that's who you were talking about.
Everybody hates Chris.
Yeah, hates
I've
Chris.
never watched.
There was a
episode
Chris
of it,
Rock
but I
show?
understand it's great. It's
There
supposed
still
to
is.
be.
He had an actual Chris Rock show on HBO.
Oh, I
It's
didn't
not
know that.
HBO.
No. He didn't realize that there was a show
Oh,
besides
there's a
Everybody
talk
Hates
show,
Chris.
the Chris Rock show.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it was really good, and he had great musical guests at the end of the show that they would play.
Zeppelin?
It was like a half-hour.
Just Bonham.
And his TV
Jason
show is like
Bonham.
#1. It's on Channel 9. Everybody
It's a
hates
funny
Chris.
show. It's
like,
a sitcom, but it's good.
A lot of the writers for the Chris Rock show ended up being writers for like Dave Chappelle, the Dave Chappelle show.
Situation comedy.
his new
Punch me out.
on his new thing.
But
He
it's
talks
really
about
not.
he talks about
It's a
Mayor
talk show.
Giuliani.
Talk
He's like
radio.
9/11, Mayor Giuliani. Everyone loves Mayor Giuliani. 9/11. What about 9/10 when Mayor Giuliani was the mayor?
We're blending this together. I'm saying everybody hates Chris.
You're
TV
right.
show.
Situation comedy.
Oh, I see. I got it.
Punch me out. I'm done. I don't watch sitcoms.
Speaking of
Don't
sitcoms
watch any
slash stand-up comedy, one of my favorite shows is The King of Queens.
It's a good show.
Is it really one of your favorite shows?
I love The King of Queens.
Me and my wife love it too, dog.
But has anyone ever seen Kevin James or Patton Oswalt do stand-up comedy?
Horrible.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I've seen Patton.
What?
I've seen Patton Oswalt be
He's all
real
right.
funny.
He's all right.
He's amazing.
They're both
Patton
great
Oswalt
on the
is an
show.
Amazing.
They're both
stand-up.
great on the show. So I just was wondering how they are.
I never saw Kevin James, but Patton Oswalt, everything I've ever seen, I thought he was pretty good.
He's like the guy on the show.
I realize Patton Oswalt, for anyone that watches Seinfeld, is the guy when George tries to rent breakfast at Tiffany's. He's the guy. In
He's the video.
store. Yeah, I only
Just
realized
saw
that
that
yesterday.
this week.
Patton Oswalt has honed his craft into just it's music. Watching him up on stage doing his stuff, he's a great stand-up comedian.
I had no idea that
absolutely
Patton Oswalt was on The King of Queens. No idea.
He's a
I didn't,
regular
I didn't
on
know
the
that
show,
either. Yeah.
It's a good show.
I'm sure it isn't.
You know what?
I would
He
venture
has
a guess that it may be one of the worst things ever.
All right, so you're going to say with shows like Family Matters in Existence and The Golden Girls and... My wife's going to be mad at me if she ever hears
What,
that.
did you ever hear
Golden Girls?
Sophia is like an old woman, and she says just such off-the-cuff things.
How sad is it that Sophia now is Estelle Getty's probably older than Sophia was supposed to be?
I thought she was like the youngest one on that show,
Yes,
though.
she was. She was all in makeup. But now she's probably older than her character was supposed. Although she's probably not that old. But
I'll tell you my new favorite TV show. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. Kenny versus Spenny on
I've seen the
Comedy Central.
advertisement.
I saw
for it.
Kenny versus Spenny when it was on about 2 years ago. That
See,
show
I
was
knew
on.
that
It
was
was
before.
on like the Living Network or like the Home and Design Network or
It was-
something.
Me and my wife saw the first 5 episodes, and they're the most hysterical thing. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are executive producer, and it's about 2 guys. They live in this condo together. They're best friends. Spencer somebody and Ken somebody. Ken, yeah. They're two best friends. One guy is reminds me a little of Chris. He's very outgoing, out there, and another guy's very stuck up and very sheltered, stuck up and conservative.
Well, when I first saw the show, it was kind of like Tony Danza and the stuck-up guy from Animal House kind of deal. You know,
totally.
one guy's got a muscle shirt on, and he's like, hey.
But every week they have a competition, and the competition...
What is this show on now, though?
It's Comedy Central.
Okay.
And they have a competition, and every week they have something different. One week you can't use your arms. Another week, the week that I saw it was how many beers could you drink? And now the gimmick behind the show is that Kenny is the diabolical genius. And he comes up with a shtick to win the competition. So they're having a beer drinking competition. He goes, "Oh, we're going to drink Beck's. You like Beck's?" Spencer goes, "I like Beck's." Kenny gets non-alcoholic Beck's that looks just like the real Beck's, and he puts them in a different box. And all throughout the week, he's acting drunk, and Spencer's really drinking. And the first guy to throw up loses. And it gets to the point, they're 4 days in, Spencer's not throwing up. Spencer passes out, Kenny throws up on top of him, on top of his face. When he wakes up, he goes, "Spencer, you threw up, you lose. And the humiliation thing is, the loser has to do some humiliation thing. And this humiliation thing, you have to eat your own vomit.
Okay, wait.
You have to eat it.
All right. Now this is a pseudo reality show.
Yes, but if it's scripted, it's genius because it seems so real.
So it's not pseudo reality; it's actually a reality.
Yeah, I
show.
understood
Yes.
it was.
It's an actual reality show.
They plan competitions for them to do, but then it's film them and let them go.
It's
and
a reality
they are actors or comedians or something, but they're just living with each other and friends and doing this.
But they have a friendship where they hate each other, kind of like me and Monty. We don't really hang out, but they're just hanging out just because they have a TV show.
Yeah, the first episode apparently aired in 2004, and then it got
so
canceled.
This is the one that I saw.
And yeah, you saw that, and I saw it too. And then I guess what happened is what they had to do was record a song or something in the one I saw. And one dude decided to go get a church choir of children for some reason, and but I guess I don't know if it was always the South Park guys show, or if they just saw it and decided to use their name to get it back.
They had to date 3 different women and try to get rated as to who was the better date, and they dated a really old lady and then a really young lady, and then
I didn't see that one, but that's the old one you're talking about,
I swear
right?
that they were British.
No,
I
guys
don't
are
know
wrong.
about that.
It's a great show. If anyone hasn't seen it, go check it out.
I love that Who Can Stand Up the Longest, by the way. It was the most recent one.
Yo, people faint from standing up, man. You lock your knees and try to stand up, you'll faint.
First guy to get a boner loses.
I saw that one. The first guy to get a boner loses.
How do they judge that?
They were in Speedos, tight Speedos, and Kenny thought Spencer has a crush on him, so he starts dancing in front of his face. And Kenny rents a girl stripper for him and a guy stripper for Spencer, and he grinds on him. Kenny, diabolical plan again, goes to a doctor and gets a nerve shot in his penis so he doesn't get an erection. And so he wins by the... the guy stripper goes on Spencer and grinds him and gets an erection.
The show we saw, the show that me and Brian saw a few years ago, was more realistic, more normal. These are just off the wall. This is why I think the South Park guys weren't involved in the past, because who can be tied to a goat the longest was one of the shows recently, and that just wasn't the kind of things they used to do back then. It was almost like them legitimately trying to accomplish something, write a song,
And you know what?
What's the name of this show?
Kenny versus Spenny.
And in that goat competition...
in all honesty, we've got to make an effort this week to talk to someone that's loosely even associated with the show. This is crazy. This just doesn't even sound like anything human.
Kenny makes a bed out of hay, and he just starts peeing in it, and the goat starts peeing in it. And he's like, why hasn't I thought of this before? And he's like, he was tied to the goat for 4 days. The goat's going all over his bedroom. Eating.
Fred is so psyched right now.
It's hysterical.
I've never seen Fred this excited in my life.
My wife hasn't either, really.
It sounds very extreme.
It is extreme.
Speaking of goats...
you guys watch Lost?
Yeah, speaking of goats, if you guys watch Lost, this Friday, Cloverfield.
Are we doing it? Are we going to set a schedule? Are we going to wrap our listeners into going out and seeing the movie with us?
No, I'm not seeing that movie. I could care less about that movie.
I have plans to go out to see the movie on Friday night with my wife and a couple of people that I work with.
No.
You guys can come.
Chris
I'll
doesn't
come.
invite us to his,
I'll come.
his
I might bring some
couple's
people.
plans, as
Is
you
that
guys
all right?
know. So